What is up, Required History Assignment Nation? I'm your host, Panda Man, coming at you live from my brother's messy bedroom, sitting at his nasty computer desk. We have a great story for you today, so without further ado, let's get right into the news!
Maybe the sun waits for you to be shown what to do.
So today's story comes from a little province known as Nova Scotia, up here. Something you need to know about Nova Scotia and the rest of Canada is that the natives of the land are called First Nations, and they sort of act semi-independently of themselves, sort of like how the Indian reservations work in the United States. And these groups of First Nations people make treaties and contracts with the federal government over in Ottawa that gives them special rights to govern themselves and make their own rules and laws and do things differently from other Canadians. So even though it wasn't fishing season, the Mi'kmaq people could take their boats and they could go out and they could go catch everything they wanted to. And that's exactly what one group of Mi'kmaq called the Sipekne'katik did. So mid-September, the Sipekne'katik send out some lobster boats and they start catching lobsters out of season. Now, some of the non-indigenous fishermen in the area don't like this one bit. So some of them get into fights with the Sipekne'katik, and it doesn't really end that well. Some of them get arrested. And on the 20th, some of the non-indigenous fishers remove some of the 900 or so traps set by the Sipekne'katik in the St. Mary's Bay. And their reasoning behind this is that they believe the Sipekne'katik fishing for lobsters at this time is threatening the lobster stocks during the rest of the year. So then 2 days later, on the 22nd of September, Fisheries Minister Bernadette Jordan and Indigenous Relations Minister Carolyn Bennett say, hey, wait a second, guys. The Mi'kmaq people are allowed to fish at this time. They have a treaty with the government. So things sort of calm down for a little bit, but it doesn't last very long. On October 14th, 2 lobster pounds, one in New Edinburgh and one in Middle West Pubnico, get raided. And the one in New Edinburgh is ransacked, rocks are thrown, and then at Middle West Pubnico, a car is set on fire. And Nova Scotia police say about 200 people are present at both locations when this is going on. So then 2 days after all this goes down, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau calls on the police, and he demands that they help the fisheries to make sure everyone's safe and nothing gets destroyed and everything is good. But it doesn't really go over very well, and the next day, the lobster pound in Middle West Pubnico is set on fire and eventually destroyed. So then, just recently on the 19th, the New Democratic Party and 4 members of Justin Trudeau's cabinet request that the House of Commons start a debate over what should be done over this whole lobster fishing debacle. So the internet is in spades over this. The On Guard for the Sub has this photo that compares how many traps the Sipekne'katik have versus how many the commercial fishery have, and it's just astonishing. The Sipekne'katik had 350 traps at the time, and the commercial fishery has over 390,000 traps in the area. So it's not even close compared to how many traps the commercial fishery is using sometimes. Some people are calling it terrorism. Some people are blaming the RCMP over it because they didn't take action when they should have when the places were burning down. It's kind of hard for me to say what the motives were behind both the police and the people setting things on fire. Maybe it's terrorism. Maybe the police are incompetent. I am not one of them, so it's kind of hard for me to say. But hopefully Ottawa can get some things figured out, because this is certainly not good. That's the story so far. Question time! What are the Indigenous people in Canada known as? What were the Indigenous people catching out of season? How many traps were being used at the time? What happened to the pound in Middle West Pubnico? Who is being asked by the NDP for help solving the dispute? Alright, here's the answers.